You mentioned it earlier. Anthony Richardson's benched from being the Colts starting quarterback. Joe Flacco goes in. Now you look at it. Anthony Richardson, he leaves the game. Well, he don't leave the game. He just takes a break. But technically, he kind of tried to leave against the Texans, against a 23-20 loss in Houston in the third quarter, because he was quote tired. He left the game because he was tired. When's the last time you heard a quarterback say that? When's the last time you heard a player say that? And if you did, is it concerning?
It really is concerning because you got to condition yourself for those moments. When you are feeling you at your worst and whatnot, or when um, your team needs you the most, and you don't have anything to give. That's when you pull out the most out of you, and you find out just the character and who you are as a competitor, and who you are as a man. Um, so just to hear him say he pulled, or hear that he pulled himself out because he was tired, that's a little bit concerning and disappointing, because as your quarterback, you're not supposed to be pulling yourself out of the game. You're supposed to be trying to get, you know, when a quarterback gets knocked out, like when he gets a concussion, they have to take his helmet from him because he'll line up and get back up in the game. That's what all players, and you need to have a competitiveness of such that, you know what, no way, shape, and form, you're going to have to pull me off this field. So that was very disappointing. But I do like the move in regards to going back to Joe Flacco. You know, Flacco has done it, and he's proven, on a couple of occasions that he still got it and he can lead this team. You know, but I do love the fact that they're not giving up on Richardson, because they did give a first round draft pick, a top five pick on him. Um, so this, he has to learn from this. Again, this weekend and every weekend for these young players is a learning experiences. And not just for the young players, the older vets, it's a learning. You can always learn something. You can always learn something week in and week out, whether you're a first year player or a 15-year vet. So, this is a great teachable moment for him, and having him sit behind Joe Flacco is perfect, because Flacco's gonna show him the ropes and how a quarterback is supposed to lead, direct the offense, prepare, film study, um, and just understanding the nuances of the game, understanding the calls and whatnot, and just being able to be in sync with your offensive coordinator. He's going to learn these things. Sometimes you can't just throw a player to the wolves, or right then and there. You have to give them time to develop, and that's the problem the NFL is having with a lot of these young quarterbacks. The Mac Joneses, Justin Fields, um, again, Anthony Richardson. It's so many quarterbacks that, again, that have really have first round, Bryce Young, that have first round talent and whatnot, but they're not being developed in a proper manner. So I really think that this is a moment where, again, you got to get back to developing these quarterbacks, and that's a trend. So, yeah, I do agree with, the coach for the remainder of the season, possibly rolling with Joe Flacco, because that's going to give them a better chance of winning. And in that AFC South, Houston's rolling. You got to keep in pace with them.
Now, if we go back, and I was on the show back then before this draft started, before Anthony Richardson got drafted. And I would like to say I've been pretty good at analyzing QBs here the past couple of years on TDT. And when I looked at Anthony Richardson, I told everybody I would not touch him with a 6-foot pole. He started one season passing. He went 17 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Didn't even have 2,600 yards passing. And you're going to sit here and tell me you're going to draft him to be a quarterback third overall? If I wanted Anthony Richardson, you know what he would be? A Taysom Hill. He wouldn't be my quarterback. Heck no. He'd be a Taysom Hill because he broke every single combine record for a quarterback. He's an athlete. but he's not a quarterback. And that's
Mm-hmm.
the problem the Bears had with Justin Fields. They wanted to say, hey, this dude's an athlete, but he's not a quarterback. But I think Justin Fields is more of a quarterback than Anthony Richardson has been. You look at Anthony Richardson and you're like, what can this dude do besides slang it and run? Because he
Hey,
can't. I mean,
hey,
I looked at him in college.
hey, man, no Diddy.
You know what made him famous? It's the same dang thing why Small Hands Kenny Pickett got famous. Because he did that fake slide. Anthony Richardson had one of those plays too. It was a 2 point conversion or a touchdown or something. It was a 2 point conversion, I think. And he's out there scrambling for his life. Looked like Kyler Murray running 80 yards on a 2 point play. And he goes left, right, center, forward, left, like you using a joystick playing Tekken with him. And he finally gets to the point where he can make a pass. He's about the right sideline, flicks it to the back right end zone, and his receiver's just there and catches it. And that's what made him famous. There wasn't a single. I don't know how much NFL scouts are getting paid, but I want to see that
Uh,
money. I want to see that money because
you
right
you
now
want you want
I'm
hey, you want a piece of that? You want a piece of that?
I want a piece of that Kit Kat bar. Break me off a piece, Nate. Because he's sitting here, yeah, he'd be a better punt returner than quarterback. He's sitting here breaking combine records because he ain't a quarterback. Play him like a Taysom Hill. Put him on tight end. Put him on fullback. Put him on running back. Put him on wide receiver. Put him on O line. Put him on D line. Taysom Hill can play anything. So could Anthony Richardson. I guarantee you, if the Saints had Anthony Richardson, he'd be playing one everything on the field. But let me give you some stats for the year because I give you, we have these little segments, but I always got to give you stats to go with it. Now, for Anthony Richardson, 6 starts on the season, he's been 44.4% completion, 958 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and 7 picks. Awful. Now, Joe Flacco, not in 4 starts, but 4 appearances, him having to come into the game to save Anthony Richardson and the Colts from behind while they're barely at 500. 4 appearances, 65.7% completion, 716 yards, 7 touchdowns, and a pick. Joe Flacco's the man to ride with. And Shane Steichen said, look, this is the guy, as we are barely floating over 500, this is the guy that gives us the best chance
Yes.
to get a postseason run. Why not put Joe Flacco in? You see what he did for the Browns last year? Put the guy in. Can't be worse than 4 touchdowns and 7 picks. Can't be worse than not even 2,600 passing yards in college. You drafted a player that can't play quarterback. I could have told you that. I did tell you that. And you
Yeah, I
still
say
had
you did kind of
and
say it.
you had him third overall. Now I had him going in the first round because his numbers in the combine were good, but I wouldn't have him drafted as a quarterback. I had him to go into a team that didn't need a quarterback because he's an athlete. He ain't a quarterback.
You got a point. You
So
got a point. You got a point.
the Colts made the right decision, Nate. They made the right decision.
No, I'm not in disagreement with you. I'm in full agreement with you because again, I feel that a lot of these quarterbacks, it's very rare that you see a quarterback come in NFL pro ready. Very rare. Depending on the system, the scheme that they go to that fits their persona, their skill set, the way they play. It's very rare that many quarterbacks come in NFL ready. But then also you have some teams that have coaches that can develop these guys, offensive coordinators that can really utilize their skill set, and it translates in the NFL. But I feel like a lot of young quarterbacks that come in the league, it'll benefit them, be beneficiary for them to sit behind a veteran, just so you can understand the way things operate at this level. So you can learn the film study, learn, and understand the nuances and pick up the nuances of the game because the game is a lot different than college.